Hello and welcome to the Blockade Runner podcast number 259. My name is John, and joining me today, guerrilla style as usual, is Ryan. What's up, Ryan?
Hello, good morning. It's morning. Yep.
Yeah, it's still morning here too. Yeah, so it's been a couple weeks. We are going to record a little episode here just talking about some of the recent news and things that have been happening in Star Wars. And we're going to start off actually by just talking about the things that we've been doing in Star Wars, or what we've been reading and watching and all that kind of thing. So, I first off have been reading the Star Wars Archives books because there was a Taschen sale again a couple weeks ago. And when they do their sales a couple times a year, they put the massive Star Wars Archives books basically at 50% off, so they're half off then. So I get tempted, and I grabbed the Star Wars Archives original trilogy book when that was on sale. So that arrived, and I haven't been reading that. It inspired me to go back to and continue the prequel trilogy Star Wars Archives books. So I've read a good chunk of the 40th anniversary edition of the original trilogy. I'm trying to pull it down off the shelf without knocking stuff over, of the original trilogy Star Wars Archives books. So that's like a manageable size. So I've read a decent chunk of that one, and I've been making my way through the prequel books. But yeah, these are incredible. I love these books very, very much, and it's been really, really cool to read the prequel version again. And I'm about maybe a third of the way through Attack of the Clones now. So I finished up Phantom Menace about a third of the way through Attack of the Clones, and they're insightful, they're beautiful, really well written, tons of great images. So they are really, really sweet. Ryan, do you have both of those? The 40th anniversary, the smaller ones?
Yeah. I only have the small ones. I read through the original trilogy one. I finished that one. Okay. I have the prequel one. I have not even started it, besides just like flipping through it a bit.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I think there is a smaller prequel. Yeah, well, you have it. So there is a smaller prequel one. The draw of the smaller ones is that they are much more affordable. And Ryan, you've even mentioned that you find them more enjoyable to read, more manageable to read, right? Because the huge ones are they're huge.
Yeah,
they're unwieldy.
Yeah, I don't have either of the Star Wars ones in the big boys, but I did get the James Bond one because it was on like deep sale around the holidays on Amazon. I think I got it for like between $40 and $50 for the big guy. And like it's incredible, but also like I literally have to sit on the floor to read it. Like, because it spreads out and it's so big.
Yeah, my 10-year-old son was in here when I was setting up for the podcast today, and my like keyboard and mouse and the stand I put my laptop on, they were all on the floor. And he's like, "Why did you put your computer on the floor?" Which is not exactly what I did, but still. I was like, well, because when I'm reading this book, I was moving the archives book off my computer desk. I was like, when I'm reading this book, I have to move basically everything else except for the monitor off the desk because it's so wide, So, but yeah, Paul Duncan is the author of these books. We saw him speak. I think did you go to that panel, Ryan, in Chicago where Paul Duncan spoke about these books, or no?
I don't think I was at that. No.
Yeah, maybe not. We were doing different panel schedules most days, but I saw Paul Duncan talk about these books in Chicago, and I don't think I'd heard of them until I went to that panel, and I was just, I knew these were for me, and they are. But to anybody listening out there, I strongly recommend grabbing the more compact versions of these books. They're like $30 maybe or something like that. $40, and they are well worth that price. Target actually sells a 3-volume version of the original trilogy Star Wars Archives books, so they've separated the book out into a slimmer volume for each of the 3 movies. And that's like, I want to say like less than $30. Actually saw it at my Target a while back. So if they still have those, that's a great way to grab these, but or grab the OT one. But yeah, I really love these books. So just wanted to bring that up, and I'm learning a lot about the prequels reading these books, and I feel like I know a lot about the prequels, right? Because I was obsessed with those movies the entire time they were being made and released, and I still love them. But yeah, I'm learning a lot, so it's been really cool. The other thing I've been doing is playing Jedi Survivor again. I jumped back and I played the game when it released, and then Tears of the Kingdom, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out, and basically I barely played anything else for 8 or 9 months. So when I finished that up, I pretty much straight away returned back to Jedi Survivor, and I'm pretty deep in now. I think I'm going to guess I'm about 75% of the way through at this point. And that game is really, really cool. So probably a lot of our listeners, if you guys are interested, have already played Jedi Survivor, I'm going to guess. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying the game. The story is actually really interesting. Well done. The performances are great. It looks great, and it's been a lot of fun to play. So I think it has a nice balance between combat and exploration. I enjoy the exploration side of it a little more than the combat side, but it has a pretty strong balance of the two. So I think it's been really good. So yeah, I've been playing that. Ryan, have you been playing any Star Wars video games?
I have not. I tried to jump back into Jedi Survivor when you and our friend Dan were talking about it. I tried jumping back into it, and I don't know. I can't get into it for whatever reason.
I was trying to remember. You didn't like the first one that much either, right? Or did you?
I didn't really.
Okay.
Yeah. I finished the first one, and I actually like the story, and especially the last couple hours of that game are amazing. But I don't know, there's something just kind of tedious with Survivor, where it's just it just feels like so many video games where you're all right, climb up this thing and then hit this switch and then move this ball over onto this thing to open up a walkway. I don't know. And I also just really don't like Cal Kestis. I'm just
California.
not into that dude
okay.
or his stories. So,
All
yeah.
right.
But we are going to. I did add some other video game related stuff into the notes here.
Yeah.
That I'm very excited about.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I've also been playing too. I didn't put this in the notes, but I've also been playing slowly and not super often, but I've been playing the Phantom Menace PlayStation game too.
Yeah. I did play
and I don't
some
know
of
if
that.
you were.
Yeah. Recently.
Yeah.
I played it on PS5 when it dropped.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know if any of our listeners have been playing that at all, or if you're a PlayStation subscriber or something. Do you have to be a subscriber of some kind?
You might be able to.
We could probably buy it otherwise.
Off the show, but you also get it if you're subscribed to their highest tier.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, that's been cool. It's a clunky,
so clunky.
clunky early 3D action platformer game, but it has its charms, that's for sure. So that's why I like to play. Usually it takes me close to an hour to get through one level, and it shouldn't take that long, but it's frustrating at times and clunky and weird and whatever. So I like to once or twice a week play a level and then be like, all right, well, that was good, so.
Yeah, what's really nice about the PlayStation, the PS4, PS5 version, is you can use save states, and you can also rewind, which so there's some really annoying platforming and some surprise combat scenarios that happen in that game, and it's really nice just to be able to hit a button and rewind to 30 seconds before when you're playing.
And that would be nice. Yeah, I'm playing on the Mister, which is a little computer that I connect to that Sony TV behind me over there. And I do have save states, but I don't have rewind, and rewind would be really nice. So yeah, yep. Okay, and then last thing I was gonna just mention here before we get into talking about some Star Wars news is Rise of the Red Blade, the book Rise of the Red Blade. I grabbed that on a deep discount. I got the digital version of the book on deep discount a few weeks back, and I'm about 45% of the way through that book, I think, right now. And it is one that I don't love the cover. I'm going to tell you that. I don't love the cover art, and even the title, Rise of the Red Blade, it's a little...
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been that excited about this book, except for I consistently was seeing a lot of praise for it online and from people whose opinions on Star Wars I trust. So when I saw that it was on a good sale, I went ahead and picked it up, and it is a really, really good Star Wars novel. I'm not done yet, but I would say the praise for it and the kind of really positive reception to the book, I think, is warranted. It is it's really good. I'm very impressed with it. The characterization is excellent, and the plot or the story that the primary character is going through is one that's not unfamiliar in the world of Star Wars, but is being presented in a way that I think is really engaging, valuable. Just really good, really good. So, every once in a while, or maybe more than every once in a while, start reading a Star Wars novel and feel like, yep, this is a Star Wars book. Like, I've read a lot of these, and this one feels really good. It's a strong piece of writing. So, just wanted to toss that out there too.
Dawson, right?
I think that's right. Yes. Yeah. So she wrote Phasma.
Written pretty excellent Star Wars stuff in both the novels and comics.
Yeah. Yep. So, all right, cool. Anything else you have going on you want to bring up before we get into the news, Ryan?
Nope.
All right, cool. Well, let's jump into it then. We're going to talk about some news. There's been quite a bit of updates regarding upcoming projects and Disney Plus stuff and all that sort of thing. So the first update we have here is a welcome one about the Acolyte. So according to Collider.com, this is from a few days ago, but I assume this information is still true. According to Collider.com, the Acolyte will be coming out this summer. So that's a little earlier than I expected, but it appears it will be releasing this summer. So, I think it makes sense because I believe they were done filming before the strike. I think they were. So, it would make sense that they could have it ready to go here by summertime. So that is very, very exciting and welcome news.
Yeah, absolutely. It is still sooner than I expected. Like you said, it makes sense because they were done filming and stuff, but you also just never know when one of these streaming platforms is just gonna sit on a project for a while with they're trying to space things out, and there could always be there's this big Marvel show coming out this summer, so we don't want to have anything else, we want all eyes on this other thing. It is sooner than I expected as well, and I'm really ready to learn a bit more about what the show actually is, aside from those little tidbits we've gotten over the past few years, but I'm incredibly excited for this one.
Yeah, I think Ahsoka released in August of last year, so that's certainly summer. Bad Batch premieres on Wednesday, the first 3 episodes are releasing Wednesday, and they put out the whole schedule for Bad Batch, all 16 episodes, and that's going to wrap up in the very beginning of May, I think. So there's a nice chunk in the summer there, a window in which the Acolyte could drop, and then my hope is that Skeleton Crew then will follow in the fall, which I think we talked about on our last episode, sometime in the fall or early winter, and that I think everything would slot in pretty nicely there if that's the approach they take. So, 2 live action shows this year plus one animated show, that would be a good setup, I think, for Disney Plus.
Yeah, two animated shows, because there's also a Tales of the Jedi dropping this year, right?
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know if we knew that for sure or not, but like that it was this year. I know there's another season coming, but yeah.
I think it was said this year, or at least it's like strongly rumored, I guess. I don't know. Likely.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So then, still on the Disney Plus front and Star Wars television front, Andor is officially wrapped. So there was a couple posts about this. Diego Luna posted on February 9th. Today is the last day of filming Andor. He wrote, "I could not be more thankful to the entire crew for this amazing experience and the years of hard work. More than 700 people have worked on this production, and it is impossible to say goodbye and thank you to everyone individually, which is why I write here, thank you for the love and the wonderful experience." So, from Cassian himself, Andor is done filming as of last week, or 2 weeks ago, I suppose. So, that's, I was never worried it wasn't going to finish or they weren't going to do it, you know what I mean? Because they had put so much money into it. But
yeah,
there was a time there where it was like, oh, we filmed most of Andor. Then a writer strike happened. Then Tony Gilroy probably pissed some people off by being, pretty pro labor and getting out there on the the picket line. And I don't remember all the details, but I feel like he had a little fiery spit of hope there for a while, you know what I mean? Where he was, I don't know, he was just really strongly supporting the strike and that kind of stuff. So I knew the show was going to happen. I knew the show would wrap up and they'd come back after the strike and finish it up. But it's just really nice to know the whole thing is in the can at this point.
Yes.
But we've talked, Ryan, like we
that's next year, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But we've talked recently about other properties from other media conglomerates that were filmed and just shelved, Coyote versus Acme, starring my guy John Cena from West Newbury, Massachusetts. They're just not going to put that movie out, it seems. Yeah. So
maybe just destroy it for a tax write-off.
Right, delete the file or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully there are some Luthen Rails or Cassian Andors working over there at Warner Brothers who can secretly back that up. Beam that transmission somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put it in an R2 unit
that
and
Batgirl movie too.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they ever threatened to delete that one, at least, but apparently they're threatening to delete. Just going to hit the delete key and erase an entire movie and hundreds of people's work. And rather than sell it to another company for anything less than an enormous sum of money. So it's wild. Yeah. But speaking of Luthen Rail, we also have a quote here. This is a Jedi News, kind of collected this and brought it to my attention. But Stellan Skarsgård was doing press for Dune Part 2, which he's also in, and was asked about how Andor wrapped up, and he said, "I'm satisfied where it goes. Yeah, it's such good writing, and it's Tony Gilroy. I really like to say his lines." So, just good to hear somebody of his caliber of actor and artist making those positive statements. Again, this is one of those things where it's like, I'm not, I would be shocked if that wasn't the case after watching season 1, the pedigree is there, right? So it would be pretty surprising if it wasn't a great, second season and a great conclusion. But
Yeah.
good to hear it from Stellan himself.
Yep.
Yeah. I actually, I think I talked about this on the last show too, but I just rewatched Andor for a second time. And that show is off the charts. It is incredible. It was just as so good, maybe better. Yeah, watching it a second time. So, yeah, very, very excited, of course, for Andor season 2 whenever that comes around. Yeah, I've also been watching The Bear. Ryan, have you watched The Bear at all?
I have not. That's the cook show.
Yes, cousin. Yes, it's a show about a little Italian beef place in Chicago. I think that's what they do, Italian beefs. But it's an interesting show. Jeremy Allen White is the star. He was great in Iron Claw, which I know you did see.
I did. Yeah.
But it also stars Eben. I forget his full name. It's an interesting name. He played Skeen on Andor. He's in that as well. So it's interesting to see him in a larger role, and he's definitely got some Skeen qualities in that show. But he's a great actor. He's really good in that, and I thought he was great in Andor. And he's also going to be in Fantastic Four now. He's going to play the Thing in Fantastic Four.
Oh, okay.
With Pedro Pascal, who's also going to be in Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Which it takes a lot to get me excited about new Marvel announcements, but that casting and the fact that it's apparently going to be a period piece, is actually really interesting. And I think like Fantastic Four, if they haven't really got it right on screen, but and they often don't get it right in the comics, but like a really good Fantastic Four story rules. Like the stuff that's really good is really good, and it's so interesting and different than something like Avengers or whatever, because it is like this family dynamic, and yeah, I'm actually like really, really excited about that. Like between that and X-Men 97, I'm actually like kind of paying attention to Marvel television again, or movies.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Eben Moss Backrack. That's his name. Eben Moss Backrack. So yeah, shout out to him. Okay. Next thing is we're moving away from TV here and into the movies, Ryan. Into the movies. Yeah. So I guess Bob Iger confirmed during an earnings call that The Mandalorian and Grogu will be releasing on May 22nd of 2026. So that's a little more than 2 movies from now.
2 years.
2 years, sorry. 2 movies, yeah. 2 years. A little more than 2 years from now. And I guess it's the next Star Wars movie. I guess. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I think according to what I'm seeing here, it looks like they still have dates for December 18th of 2026 and then December 17th of 2027. Whether or not movies will come out on those dates, I don't know. But I suppose maybe Mandalorian and Grogu will be May of 2026, and the Rey movie could be December of 2026. I don't know.
Oh my god! Then we're gonna have to go through this whole did this movie not do as well because it was released so close to this other movie discourse again.
Yeah. Well, there's that. That's true. Could be. Could be. Yeah, we'll see. Or maybe they won't. Maybe it won't come out in December of 2026. Maybe it'll be a year and a half later in December of 2027. I guess, who knows? And that'll be something we'll have to see how we're feeling and that kind of thing when we get closer to those release dates. Right now, I feel like I could definitely handle 2 Star Wars movies in a year, and it would not be like overkill to me at all at this point. But I'm sure Bob Iger, who has fallen on the sword himself in the past and said that was my bad. We shouldn't have released Solo so soon after Last Jedi. I'm sure he'll be very careful about that, conservative about that, and we'll have to kind of assess the situation at that point when we get a little closer, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I'm ready for the Star Wars fatigue think pieces, because
yeah,
watching 5 hours worth of Star Wars movies within 365 days is just exhausting. To watch 2.5 hour movies, I can't.
Now, we were originally supposed to get. Yeah. We were originally supposed to get one in 2025, I think, right? Wasn't that the plan before the strike, maybe, on the calendar? So.
Yeah, but then isn't 2025 the next Avatar?
Yeah, that's what made me think of it. It's like.
And then they we're just like, no, we can't. No, we can't do Star Wars too.
Which is good. I think that's smart. I don't think it would be a good idea to pit those two movies against one another. So that makes sense.
I'm ready to choose a side.
You are?
Yeah. I'll fight that.
Should I ask which side you're going to pick, or?
Obviously, Avatar. The movies that I have not seen. I'm really excited for that's the third one.
Never seen an Avatar.
I've never seen an Avatar movie.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well.
So my prediction about this is probably they're saying May 2026 for Mando, and then they have that holiday slot as well. I'm guessing it will be like the thing that happens with Star Wars movies, and it's planned for like a May date, and then they decide to push it to the holiday slot, and it will just be like there'll be a Star Wars movie holiday 2026, and then a Star Wars movie holiday 2027 as well, is my guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that plan. That sounds good. Yeah. But I guess this at least, kind of puts to bed the discussion of whether Rey will be first or Mandalorian will be first, with Grogu to the theaters. So this is probably by far the less complicated of the two movies to make and put together and all that kind of stuff. So I think it makes sense that they can, kind of get this ball rolling and have it in production and on the way sooner than the Rey movie. And maybe it takes a little... Hopefully, too, it takes a little pressure off that Rey movie as far as, we've got to get it moving and into production ASAP, just so they have time to get it right, of course.
Yeah.
But I believe there have been a lot of rumors about it going into production this year as well, too. So, we'll see, I suppose, what happens with that. But
I feel like Mando and Grogu would be like a good appetizer for... like the main course, which is the follow-up to the sequel trilogy.
Of course, if that's the case, maybe you can have them both in the same year. Maybe you should have them both in the same year.
Ooh.
I don't have an appetizer and then wait 3 hours to have dinner. You know what I mean? Like, if it's
have you tried waiting a year after the appetizer for dinner?
Yeah, see, no, that seems like too much. I'd have to go find some other movies to eat, Yeah. So yeah. One other thing I put in here that we don't talk about too long. I just wanted to give our friend Brandon from the Talking Bay 94 podcast a shout out, Brandon Winerdy, because he is one of the authors of the new and updated Star Wars encyclopedia that is coming out in September of this year. So as far as I know, that's his first credit in a Star Wars book. He's been writing for StarWars.com for quite a while now, but yeah, he'll be working on this book as well, so that's exciting.
Nice.
Yep. I assume that's a dream come true. It would be for me to be an author of a published Star Wars book. So Brandon is a wonderful guy and well deserving. So I'm excited for him and just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. So couple stories left to tackle here, Ryan, before we wrap up for today. And the next one is a doozy. It's a big one. It's an exciting one for me. One that I really, really popped for when I saw this news about a week ago now. And that is that Star Wars The Phantom Menace is going to be returning to theaters to celebrate its 25th anniversary. So this May, Star Wars The Phantom Menace will be coming back to theaters. I cannot wait. I love this movie. Seeing The Phantom Menace in the movie theater specifically is, a highlight of my life. I mean, it was like months of my life that I spent anticipating and gearing up for this and lining up for this. And I saw it 14 times that summer. And, I just love The Phantom Menace and maybe more than any other Star Wars movie associate it with, the movie going experience, going to the movie theater. So I am thrilled to be able to see this one on the big screen again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is just a great thing to be happening. However people feel about the Phantom Menace in 2024, I think it's still, like you said, it's a very, very memorable movie-going experience for people of a certain age. Potentially a painful movie-going experience for other people, but you don't have to go. Let people enjoy the thing. You really don't have to go. My big question around this is what version are they going to be showing? I think the most likely scenario is, the 4K restoration that they did for the Blu-rays. Most likely, but how great would it be if they showed the original 35 millimeter print of it with, the original content, the puppet Yoda, just all that in there.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but I don't even know how that would be tough to do at this point. I mean, I guess obviously you would just take the 35 millimeter print and transfer it to a digital file, but otherwise you got to go to like Quentin Tarantino's theater in Los Angeles or something to watch a 35 millimeter print of a movie. There's not very many theaters left in America equipped to show you a 35 millimeter, movie at this point.
Yeah. I was actually I was thinking about that because I was wondering if Alamo Drafthouse has any like film projectors anymore, because I remember I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood the 35 millimeter version, and I don't actually know if it was like actually film or if it was like a digital copy of the 35 millimeter version. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't know enough about that movie to know like if there were different versions or what the deal is there. Alamo certainly seems like a company that would have, potentially have a 35 millimeter projector and setup and all that kind of stuff. I know they do their whole presentation before their movies of a bunch of, stuff they collect and put together and all that. So, if anything, they could maybe have a dual projector setup in some theaters, like in, one screen in some of their theaters, I guess. But I would imagine they have to, they certainly have like that digital projector for all that kind of stuff, that they would show before a movie, if they do have any 35 millimeter screens anywhere. But yeah, I mean, there are places, the New Beverly, which is the theater that Quentin Tarantino runs in LA. That one I know is all 35 mil, or at least it's all film. So yeah, it's possible. But the bigger kind of question I have about this re-release is, whether it'll be a little wider than the Return of the Jedi re-release. And I hope that's the case because, for me to go see Return of the Jedi, I think it was at least a 45-minute drive, if not further, probably further, honestly. It just wasn't super accessible, so I didn't actually end up getting out to that one. I will get to this one. If I have to go to Minnesota to see this or something, I will do it. I'm extremely hyped to see Phantom Menace in the theater again, so I'll get there. But I know Return of the Jedi, it seemed like a really big success, so hopefully they will release this a little wider than they did Jedi.
Yeah, that one was... I didn't end up going to that just because Alamo didn't play it. It was only at AMC locations, and they were all like Wednesday at 5 p.m. type things that just not either able to or interested in. So I didn't end up going to that. But I just pulled up on the Alamo site just to answer this question.
Okay.
It says, our projection teams are vital to the company because many classic films are only available on celluloid. The only way they can be seen is on film. That's why most Alamo Drafthouse locations are fitted with at least one 35mm projector, and several even have widescreen 70mm equipment, the preferred format for visionary filmmakers like Christopher Nolan and Paul Thomas Anderson. So
interesting.
So I'm assuming that my Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was actually on the 35mm projector there. So
yeah, must have been. Yeah,
that's also
that's
probably cool. Not what this screening is going to be, but it would be really cool. It would make me very happy.
Yeah, it would be cool. It would be probably piss George Lucas off, you know what I mean? But it would be cool, you know what I mean? So he didn't want the movie in 35mm. He didn't want it on film at all, you know what I mean? He was. Yeah. I was just reading just 2 days ago him and Rick McCullum, pitching up a storm about how the theaters in America weren't equipped to reproduce the movie they made, and so on and so forth. So anyway, it's certainly not something that George Lucas would do, but you never know. He's not there anymore, so you never know. But
and
yeah,
honestly,
it's true.
The 4K restoration looks really, really good. This movie, like Phantom Menace in particular, I think looks the best of the prequels with the 4K restorations. It's like a gorgeous film, so I think it will look good, whatever, however they do it. But
yeah, that's interesting.
Unless they do 3D, which please don't.
No, I don't think they'll do that. Yeah, I was just like I said, I was reading about the whole digital film thing in the Star Wars Archives book, and one thing they were talking about is, and this, I couldn't totally understand it because I'm not, an expert in that area whatsoever, but they were talking about the resolution of film, and they were saying that when they were developing their digital film cameras and stuff, like cinematographers and technical people would say, well, the resolution of film is 8K, and then they were talking about, but by the time you make the inner positive and the inner negative, and then blah blah blah, and you get like the actual print out to the movie theater, it's like less than, I want to say it was like less than 1080p resolution. It was like somewhere between 1080p and 720p resolution or something, and blah blah blah. It's all technical stuff, but it's interesting to consider that with a movie like Episode 1, which is right on the cusp of the film era into the digital cinema era. Attack of the Clones, of course, shot digitally. There's scenes in the Phantom Menace. The scene where Qui-Gon is taking Anakin's blood with a Schick razor blade is that's shot on digital film, and it wasn't even a digital film camera. It was like a camera that was made for broadcast television that they kind of had to like retrofit and sort of mess with to get it to be able to shoot that scene. But there was a couple other shots too they did digitally, and then I guess they took those scenes to Sony and said, look, like we really need to develop a digital camera that's like made for film, because they had to shoot that scene in 30 frames per second and then drop it down to 24 frames per second, in which doing so it had all these quality issues and blah 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 blah. But so they were able to get Sony and Panavision to develop a digital film camera and film lenses, based on, at least partially based on, shooting a couple scenes in the Phantom Menace or a couple shots or whatever on digital video. So, and one thing our friend California Chris brings up all the time is that Attack of the Clones, I think, is in the best they could shoot in then was 1080p. So, when you make the 4K version, you have less than 4Ks.
It doesn't look great. Doesn't look great. I think episode 3 looks a bit better, because I think they shot at a higher resolution, maybe, but
I think they probably did by then.
Just anecdotally.
I'm not there in the book yet.
Attack of the Clones, because I rewatched all those movies in 4K, and like it's like a steep drop visually from Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones, because like it looks like you're like Attack of the Clones, the 4K version looks like you're like one buffering away from it like looking crisp, but there's just kind of like this sheen of like a little like Vaseline just over like the whole thing. It's just feels a little out of focus and blurry.
A little soft.
Yeah, at least on my TV. On the subject of this though, like that you brought up the like quote unquote like resolution of film, that's really interesting because Friday night I was watching the Criterion 4K Blu-ray of Martin Scorsese's Mean Streets, and I was watching that, and it was like giving me chills how good that looked. Like, just like it looked, I mean, you could, in a dark room with someone who like had no idea like it was a 4K Blu-ray streaming, or on a 4K TV, like you could easily convince someone that they were like watching film. But like it looked so good, and especially like just capturing like early 70s New York. It was amazing. So I do think, and I don't think it would have. I should actually check it out, because the Criterion set comes with like the 1080p Blu-ray and the 4K Blu-ray. I actually kind of want to check it out and see how the 1080p one looks, but I really can't imagine it looking better than it did on the 4K version. So
yeah, it's cool that that Criterion is now doing 4K discs. I have Citizen Kane. That's the only movie I have on 4K, I think, from Criterion. But even when I watch like 1080p Blu-rays, they look fantastic still. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And
honestly, I have trouble. I don't have a great TV. I have a pretty poor TV, and I also have a receiver that is not quite up to date in terms of the 4K setup or whatever, so like it's not worth getting into here, but the way I have the receiver connected to the TV and all the components connected to the receiver, I can't do Dolby Vision, and I can do HDR10 but not HDR10 plus, but the brightness of my TV is such that like I think like seeing stuff in HDR actually sometimes makes it look worse than it would if it wasn't in HDR.
Yeah.
And I don't have that issue with like modern movies. Like if I watch the sequels on 4K Blu-ray or whatever, they look great. But sometimes watching, especially the original trilogy, like the last time I was watching one of the OT movies, I had the 4K disc in, and I just turned it off and put it on Disney Plus, and it looked way better on Disney Plus than it did on the disc.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like the color, timing's not the right word, but like the color palette and the whole thing, it was all washed out and gross looking on my TV from the Blu-ray disc. And I think it has to do with the HDR that's being used and my TV not being good at HDR. And anyway, it wasn't a pleasant experience. So, sometimes, bringing over those, I don't know, watching films in 4K, I think especially when they're older films, there can be some snags there. But my Citizen Kane disc looked great. I'll say that. It looked fantastic. So I don't know. Yeah. Yep. I guess I just need to spend a lot of money and get a new OLED TV and a nice receiver as well. So, I mean, I don't think I'm going to do that anytime soon, but that's what I probably need to do to experience the Star Wars films in my home in peak quality,
Yeah. I mean, I also watch Star Wars films on VHS in that on that CRT that's behind me in this shot. So, things can be enjoyed in multiple ways.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I think for me, I'm gonna have better luck putting the 1080p Star Wars Blu-ray in versus the 4K disc at this current juncture with my current setup. So that's unfortunate, but I have plenty of ways to watch Star Wars, and I can find a way that looks good for sure. So, all right, Ryan, we have 2 more stories left. These are video game, focused stories. So you are our video game expert here. So talk to us about this Mandalorian game from Respawn Entertainment, who, if I'm not mistaken, are the developers of Jedi Survivor, right?
Correct. They are. So
Okay.
But they, prior to this, their ex Infinity Ward employees, like that's who started the studio after a fallout with Activision, and they were best known for some of the earlier Call of Duty games that really helped the series break into be the success that it was. And then they made these games called Titanfall, which was a duology that were very, very cool, interesting first-person shooters with wild wall running and parkour elements, and they did not sell as well as the publisher, which I believe was EA, had hoped. So that series got kind of put on ice. But then Respawn made Apex Legends, which is a first-person sort of Fortnite-y thing, but it retains a lot of the parkour elements in there. And so, why that's important is because this Mandalorian game that's supposedly in development there is going to be a first-person game. And it's not going to be open world or really exploration based in the way the Jedi Survivor games are, but the upcoming Outlaws, but it's going to be more of a linear experience. It kind of, for me, brings to mind something like Dark Forces or Republic Commando, those kind of Star Wars non-multiplayer first-person shooters. And I'm a big fan of the Titanfall games, especially the second one and the campaign part of it. I didn't play much of the multiplayer, but the campaign is really, really good. And so, yeah, this is pretty exciting to me. And also, it's funny because you think of, like, 15 years ago, like, everyone was, like, so exhausted by first person shooters because, like, everything was a first person shooter. And now in 2024, like, there really aren't any, like, big budget first person shooters. Like, everything is like a third person open world game now. Outside of Call of Duty is really the only, like, first person shooters series that's has, like, a huge budget. And we got Battlefront 2, which had a phenomenal story mode to it. And then there was a Halo a couple years ago, but then that series kind of went on ice again. So yeah, this I think is just exciting as, like, a genre thing, just because, like, it's obviously going to have, like, really great production values in a sort of an underserved genre, but then also, like, it's the absolute right developer to be making this game. And I don't know about, like, the whole, like, Mandalorian side of it. In this article here, it's like they speculate, is it going to be Din, or is it going to be one of the other Mandalorians that we know, or, like, a new character. They could, like, it could literally be anyone. But yeah, the game itself, it's exciting. It's exciting to me.
Yeah, I of course thought of Bounty Hunter from the GameCube and PS2. That was, like, the first game that came to mind for me. That's a third-person game, though, so key difference, I suppose. But jetpacking and lighting people on fire and collecting bounties and all that kind of stuff. That's what that game was all about. And it was level based rather than open world, of course. So for those who were fans of that game, if like, I know some of our friends don't like first person games or struggle to play first person games because of, like, motion sickness and stuff like that. So we'll see how things work out as far as that goes. But otherwise, yeah, if you're a fan of something like that, like, basically, do we call it, like, a character action game? You know what I mean? Is that, like, the kind of thing that you would call something like Bounty Hunter?
Yeah. Yep. Third person action adventure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe some of the same, like, ideas in terms of what you're doing, but more from a first person perspective, or from a first person perspective in this one, right? So yeah. I love open world games. At least a few open world games. Like, my favorite game, the game I just got done playing, Tears of the Kingdom, is an open world game, and I like that. But man, I feel like it's like big RPGs too. Like, I like RPGs sometimes, but only sometimes, and not everything can be a big open world game or a big RPG or whatever. So like, seeing, like, oh yeah, it'll be, like, distinct levels and stuff, like, that sounds pretty cool, actually. That sounds pretty good. I like that. So yeah,
for sure. I've been, like, really it's been very apparent to me. Like, I grew up, like, really loving first person shooters, specifically in, like, the 90s and to, like, early 2000s. Like, I loved Unreal and Doom and Quake and Half-Life and all of those. And then everything became, like, super multiplayer focused and, like, super linear and cinematic, and I kind of, like, fell out of first person stuff. But I actually really like playing games in, like, a first person perspective. Like, I'm someone who, like, I feel like that helps with immersion. Like, my two favorite video games last year were Metroid Prime Remastered and My House, which is a it's a mod, a WAD for the original Doom. And yeah, and lately I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 on PC, and it's kind of just like, you know, I'm not like huge into open worlds, but like, you know, playing one in first person really really clicks for me. And so yeah, I'm incredibly excited about this. I feel like they are in a tricky spot just based on the market, because games cost an absurd amount of money to make. If you've been following the games industry in, you know, the past month in particular, you know, there's been a lot of talk about how the current model of, you know, games costing $250 million to make, and then, you know, needing to sell, you know, 15 million copies at $70 to like even, you know, break even after marketing and stuff, like, and how absolutely unsustainable that model is. It does make me wonder how something like this could be sold. Like, if this is a, you know, what it sounds like is kind of, you know, the type of first-person shooter we would get constantly in the 90s to early 2000s. It's like, you know, a first-person game. It takes, you know, 8 to 12 hours to finish, and then, you know, you're done with it, kind of thing. I feel like now with games, the expectation is that if you pay $70 for a game, it needs to be 150 hours long, and then like also have like multiplayer seasons, and the developers have to be adding content every month, or you're gonna leave a super negative review on Steam. Like, yeah, and yeah, I do wonder how this will be sold, and how they're going to avoid, you know, just nasty stuff with like microtransactions, or, you know, a multiplayer mode that will, you know, last a month, and then people will go back to, you know, Fortnite and Call of Duty, because no other game can sustain a multiplayer shooter these days. Like, I don't know what I'd be curious to see if they did something like they did with Squadrons, which I don't know if that was a huge success for them, but, you know, that was like a, I don't know, 5-6 hour game for the single player, and then there was like this, you know, additional multiplayer mode, and it was like $40 or $50, I think. It was definitely cheaper than a regular game, and I thought that was really cool. But yeah,
well, this will probably have multiplayer though, right? Won't it probably have multiplayer, like a first-person shooter type game? Like, don't they usually?
Yeah, I mean, probably, but I kind of just it feels like sad for them to do that.
Yeah.
Like, because like people are not going to, it's not going to be able to hold an audience unless it's something really unique. But if it's just like, you know, you're shooting people to, you know, win the match, and then like level up your cosmetics, and that's like the whole game, like people are just gonna go back to the stuff they're already playing. Like, I mean, who plays Battlefront 2 anymore? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It just,
although I think
feels like a big waste of resources.
Yeah. Well, I don't need it, but I think I feel like the Battlefront 2 multiplayer probably had a couple solid years of people playing, though. You know,
it did, and it was really
fell
good.
Off right away.
But, you know, there's a finite amount of people who play shooters, and there's you know, a finite amount of ways, you know, to spend their time. Like,
right. Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I would say that was a good use of resources for Battlefront 2 to have that multiplayer mode, because that was, but also like the single player mode more mirrored what a multiplayer mode would look like in that, or not the single player mode, I guess, but like because the single player mode of Battlefront was like a very story driven, item
Yeah.
versio, whatever. But at least like gameplay wise, it was like very, well, I don't know. I guess that'll be true for this one too. But I don't know. Battlefront 1 was, like the single player was basically just offline multiplayer without
Yeah.
online people, right? You know what I mean? So it's just,
Yeah.
like the pedigree of that like series and stuff made sense for like online multiplayer and whatever. Whereas like the way you're describing this game, it really does just sound like a first person, adventure that like 8 to 10 hours, whatever. Awesome, right? That would be cool.
Yeah.
And then like when they put multiplayer in Metroid Prime 2, I can't remember if it was in 3 or not, but it was just like, we don't. Yeah. So
Who played that? I don't know.
yeah.
You know what? I actually, now thinking about it though, like, I don't think like, I honestly like do not think like a competitive like deathmatch or battle royale type gameplay would be successful long term for this game. But I do wonder if maybe something like co-op would
Oh yeah. Yeah.
could be good. Like, because right now, like the hot game right now is Helldivers 2, and that's on PC and PS5, and that game is just like, it's pure co-op. There's no competitive multiplayer, and they said they're never going to do it, but like tons of people are playing that game and having a lot of fun with it. So
I thought the hot new game right now was Pal World. Isn't that the hot new game right now?
I don't know. I think it still is, but
Yeah.
I don't know. This one is, less. Helldivers
Copyright
seems to be more
infringy?
ethically made
Oh, okay.
than Power
Gotcha.
But yeah,
All right, cool. Well, last thing here, Ryan, let's talk about the Dark Forces remaster, which it appears comes out in like 2 weeks, right?
yeah. I think we talked about this when it was announced, but speaking of like a great, just Star Wars first-person story-based adventure, that's less than 10 hours long to play through. Like, Dark Forces rules, and this is from Night Dive Studios, who just do amazing remaster work. They're very meticulous with how they, present the experience, like keeping the essence, but also adding, obviously modern visual elements, but also just phenomenal quality of life improvements that make these games like feel more modern, and less kind of like annoying to play 30 years later. So this is a game that I am definitely going to be buying at the end of the month, that I'm really, really excited to revisit. It's one I still like, I have it installed on my PC, and I'll play some Dark Forces, every once in a while. I'll just click on that Steam link and give it a go, and it's still just like, I love the game back in the day, and I'm really excited to play it with like the Night Dive treatment.
Yeah. I think I've played the first few levels of this game a handful of times. Pretty sure I had it on the PlayStation. And I'm pretty sure I've played it a few times, but or the beginning of it a few times, and never really finished it. But I will pick this up as well. Maybe I'll even try to play like a level or two of the PlayStation game first. I always like to do that, like with a remaster or re-release if I can, like just to remind myself of what the original was like, and then get a little taste of both. But 4K and 120 frames per second on your PlayStation 5 or Xbox. Actually, it sounds like even on the PS4 and the Xbox One, it's going to be 4K 120. So I don't even know that those consoles could do that. But
yeah, that's wild. But there's also
maybe they can't do that.
A Switch version too, I believe.
Yes. This article from IGN makes it clear that one will not be running at 4K and 120 frames per second.
No,
so,
it will not.
no games run it at either of those things on Switch, so which is fine. But
yeah,
my TV can't do 120 frames per second anyway, so that's okay.
I'll be buying it on PC, for sure.
Yeah,
I love keyboard and mouse for first-person games, and my PC monitor can actually do 144 megahertz 4K.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll probably get it on the Series X, but I guess maybe if the reviews come out and everyone's like, oh, the Switch version runs just smooth as butter or whatever, then maybe I'll do the Switch version. But
might have gyro.
I don't.
Which
Yeah.
sometimes
like
they add that to their versions. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I care that much if it's in 1080p or 4K or whatever. And if it runs at 60 frames per second on the Switch, that'll be fine.
Yeah, it's diminishing returns. Upgrading.
Yeah.
Visuals that were like 240 up to.
But so like some of the, I don't know if you have the article open or not, Ryan, but I'm looking at like screenshots, and like in these story scenes, like these, I don't know what you call them, but the like story sequences or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, is this like the original art style, or is this like a way of like kind of reproducing those story sequences, but in a more, because it looks like a I don't know, what's the style? Like
it's like painter.
Like it's going for like an animated look. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not how it was on the PlayStation, was it? And the PC?
They were pixel art in the original.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not just like upscaling that pixel art for these story scenes. They're recreating that art in a different style. Gotcha.
Yeah. I think they're redoing those.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay, cool. Well, that comes out on February 28th, so I think that's a little less than 2 weeks. Valentine's Day has come and gone, so it's like a week and a half until that releases. So that is something to look forward to. I think that's a Wednesday, the 28th. So that's something to look forward to. Even sooner than that, Ryan, this Wednesday, February 21st, 3 episodes of Bad Batch Season 3 launch on Disney+, so I'm excited for that, and I'm sure many Star Wars fans out there are as well. So those are a couple of things on the horizon here in February in the world of Star Wars. So, but yeah, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the show. So thanks for listening and or watching, and if you want to find more of the shows we've done in the past and blog posts and things like that, you can go to blockaderunnerpodcast.com. All of that previous content, videos, etc. is there. If you want to message the show, you can email us, blockaderunnerpodcast@gmail.com. We also have a Discord server, which we link to in the show notes all the time. Just a real small crew of people in there right now talking about Star Wars, but we'd love to have anyone who's listening and interested join us there on Discord. And we're also on Blue Sky, Blockade Runner. One day I'll remember to know my Discord stuff before.
I can't this time.
Or my Blue Sky stuff, but I think it's just Blockade Runner. You'll find us. Blockade Runner on Blue Sky.
Search for Blockade Runner or Blockade Runner podcast or something. You'll find it. Yeah.
Yep, and Blue Sky is open to everybody now. So
it is.
If you're listening and you're like, "What's Blue Sky?" It's like Twitter when Twitter was better, and it's a smaller group of people there right now, but less. No ads, no promoted ads, no weird. I don't know. It's just a much better experience, much cleaner, more simple experience. But it is just like Twitter, the way Twitter used to be. So follow us there on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks again for listening, and we'll be back soon with another episode of the Blockade Runner podcast.